He was the kind of teacher who was passionate, but he was patient. So he was pushy, but he allowed you time, and he was challenging but encouraging. He was authoritative, but he was never arrogant. I can't remember a time. And the most important thing about him as a teacher, the thing I look for all the time, is he was a person who cared deeply about the audience getting something of value.
If I could describe Mike in one word, it'd be passionate.
Let's say Mike in a word: thoughtful, unbelievable leader, and just a very, very kind soul.
He was a patriot through and through, do whatever he needed to do to protect all that was good.
So many people in the community know Mike Assante in a lot of different ways. Some know him from his naval career as a naval intelligence officer. Many from the bulk power and electric utility industry as he transitioned into the CSO at American Electric Power, AEP. So you have these communities that knew him in Navy, you had people who knew him in bulk power, you had people who knew him in the research side. He moved in and served on the Cybersecurity Commission for the 44th President. He was the board member at CIS, the Center for Internet Security. And then he made his way into kind of the academic and education and started doing summits with the SANS Institute.
So I first met Mike when I was in the military, crossed paths in some various interesting places. And what always struck me from the very beginning is when I started my career, there wasn't a big ICS security community. When I was in the Air Force, but over really the National Security Agency, I kind of almost felt alone, right? There was just like my small team of whatever we were building. And Mike was the first time that I really felt that there was this whole other world I was missing. When I talked to him, you know, I wasn't anywhere near close to the smartest guy in the room. He had been down the journey I was going down. He had done so many interesting things. And so it was kind of just like the whole door had opened as soon as I talked to Mike. And I knew I was going to be attached to this guy for the rest of the career.
You know, Mike was a lifetime servant, a patriot who had served our country. And in his role there, he realized that the systems that were built, whether it was in the military or in our power generation, water treatment facilities, it was built to be resilient and really robust, but it wasn't built for cybersecurity. So he had this vision that we had to harden these incredible assets that controlled our daily life, that were important to our economy, to our safety. So he wanted to take his learnings as from being in the military and operating in companies and figure out how to harden that. But he knew we couldn't do it alone. So his vision was to do that as a community. And that's how we started, one of the things with the summits, but ultimately training in classes. So it was an evolving thing that he didn't try to solve alone, which I think is one of his legacies.
The SANS Michael J. Assante ICS Security Award is something that Michael started many, many years ago. And it's a thing that while we've run summits for almost 20 years, he had hit a point in being the chair of the summits and being on stage and recognizing practitioners in the field. We don't pay attention enough as an industry to sort of stop and celebrate the great things that have happened and the great careers that have occurred and the contributions people have made with their time, their efforts, their energy. Many kind of pure volunteers trying to give back what they knew before they hit a point where they retired and kind of passed the baton to someone else.
In any community you want to recognize those who do great things and inspires others to want to do things too. And Mike was a visionary in the ICS community. You want to recognize others who are going to continue to carry that legacy forward.
There will be so many people who never remember or know Mike's name. There'll be some of us that will remember it forever. But that's just how it goes. We all have idols growing up and mentors and those folks, and then it's disheartening to find the next cadre of folks or generation that doesn't even realize or recognize their work. And we will strive to keep Mike's memory alive, of course, and there'll be portions of the community always will be. But the fun thing to me is there'll be so many that it won't be alive for, and yet so much of what they're able to do, Mike had a hand in. And I think that's almost more powerful. And I think we always talk about legacy, and Mike talked about this a lot, of like what the Romans left the world and the aqueducts and everything, and I think it's fun that even somebody who doesn't understand or study history gets to benefit from it. And I think there'll be a major portion of the community that will never understand or know Mike, but I don't think Mike cared. I think Mike cared about the outcomes, and they're lucky that he existed.
What do you think Mike would be most proud of when looking at the summit and the ICS community today?
Yeah, I don't know. I think Mike's proud of a lot of things. I think Mike would be very proud of his son and his consistent involvement out in the community. And being a SANS. I think he's proud of obviously his whole family, but I think he'd be proud of the work that Tim did. Like, I like to think I'm pretty cool at the end of the day, but let's be honest, like Tim Conway has embodied more, done more, been truer to just focus on that SANS ICS mission set that like Mike really built out. I think Mike would be very, very proud of Tim. And I think Mike would be proud of the course development and the students we have, and like the fact that they've consistently really come and shown up, not to just get a cert because of their resume, but to really put in the work to learn these classes and learn this material and understand at the end of the day the impact is in our families and our local communities, not stealing credit card data. And so I think he'd be very proud of the students for that.
I think my father would say, it's not about the footprint we leave behind in the industry, but about the impact we leave on each and every person along the way. It is through the support of one another, alongside each other, fighting against the cyber threats we face in the space today, is how our community can truly thrive. It is you, the people in this community, that are truly making a difference.
After Mike passed, Rob wrote a blog, and I think the title was Thanks for Literally Everything. And there's so many people in the community that I think that blog post was kind of all of our love letter to Mike, his wife, his family, and just what they all did for all of us in our careers and in our lives and personally.
I think the single word I would use to describe my father would be his humility. My dad did amazing work, but at the end of the day, he set an important example of leaving your ego at the door in order to do this work and to do it well. This collective work in protecting our critical systems and infrastructure is more important than any single person's achievements. And even though the many awards and honors he received, he stood by that, he never let it get in his way of his noble goal of protecting and defending our country. It is through everyone's continued efforts that we're able to be where we are today, and that we continue in the future to continue this fight for the greater good of our country, this nation, and the rest of the world.